An anonymous threat led me to a decades-old deception hidden in my own community. I never thought a simple piece of paper could make my hands shake. It wasn't an elegant envelope or a carefully written letter. It was a sheet of paper folded into quarters, slipped under my front door on an ordinary autumn night. I didn't hear footsteps. No knock. Not even the neighborhood dogs barking. I just found it there, waiting for me, as if it had always belonged in that spot. The message was short, direct, brutal. Stop asking questions if you don't want the truth to destroy you. Your community is not what you think. It never was. No signature. No explanation. But it did one thing instantly. It chilled me to the bone. The place I called home. I grew up in this town. I was born here. My parents were born here. My grandparents are buried in the small cemetery behind the main church. We were always told we lived in one of the safest, most united places in the region. Nothing ever happened here. That was the town's pride. Unlocked doors. Kids playing outside until dark. Neighbors who knew each other by name and last name. When people talked about home, this was what I imagined. Until that night. The first crack. At first, I thought it was a prank. Maybe some bored teenager trying to scare me. But something didn't sit right. The note mentioned asking questions. I hadn't been asking anything, at least not intentionally. But a few days earlier, during a family dinner, I had casually mentioned that I was reviewing old town records for a personal project. Nothing serious, just local history. I remember how the mood shifted instantly. My father stopped eating. My mother changed the subject. My uncle stood up and left the table without saying a word. At the time, I brushed it off. Now, it felt far too intentional. The second message. 3 days later, the second warning arrived. This time, it wasn't under my door. It was taped to my car's windshield, written in red ink. We know where you work. We know what you're looking for. Don't dig up what was buried. That's when I knew it wasn't a joke. Someone was watching me. And worse, someone knew things about me that only someone from inside the community could know. The forgotten archive. I decided to do the exact opposite of what they wanted. I went back to the municipal archive. It's an old building, the kind that smells like damp paper and dust. The woman in charge, someone who had known me since I was a child, hesitated before letting me into the oldest section. Almost nobody looks at those, she said. That's exactly why, I replied. That's where I found something that should never have existed. An incomplete record. Names crossed out. Dates that didn't line up. And a handwritten note in the margin of a document over 40 years old. Unofficial transfer. Case closed for the good of the town. People who never officially left. I started tracking down those names. Neighbors who, according to records, had moved away. Entire families who had supposedly started over somewhere else. People no one seemed to remember saying goodbye to. Whenever I asked about them, the answers were always vague. Yeah, I think they moved. That was a long time ago, why bring it up? You shouldn't get involved in things that don't concern you. That last line came up far too often. The clearest warning yet. One night, while reviewing documents at home, the power went out. When it came back on, my laptop was open to a folder I hadn't opened. On the screen was a single text file. Not everyone who disappeared left. Some were sacrificed for the peace you enjoy today. I didn't sleep that night. The buried truth. What I uncovered was worse than any conspiracy theory I could have imagined. Decades ago, the town faced a crisis. Internal accusations, disappearances, something that threatened to destroy its reputation and bring outside intervention. The solution wasn't justice. It was silence. A small group, local leaders, authorities, respected figures, decided to bury everything. Records were altered, names erased, history rewritten. Those who knew too much simply stopped existing on paper. And the town thrived. Quiet. Safe. False. The most painful betrayal. The final blow came when I found my grandfather's name on one of the documents. Not as a victim, but as a signer. He helped seal the secret. My family didn't just live with the lie. They were part of it. The final message. The last note arrived this morning. Now you know the truth. If you speak, you'll become the next blurry memory. Silence protected us before. It will do so again. Why I'm telling this story? I don't know how much time I have left here. I don't know if this message will reach anyone outside this town. But I had to tell it. Because the place I was promised as home was built on the disappearance of others. And now every smile, every friendly greeting, every unlocked door feels like a silent threat. If something happens to me, if one day the records say I moved away, now you know why.